Welcome, real estate fans, to another episode of Seattle's Eastside, Seattle's Real Estate Podcast. Remember, we changed it last time. I'm Dan Edwards, managing broker with the Seattle Real Estate team, and I am here to provide you with the inside scoop to living, working, and playing across the greater Seattle area, including the East Side. It's Wednesday, January 17th, 2024, and we're coming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, and now Instagram. I see my monitor over here. It shows me live on Instagram. I don't know what the experience is like. Feel free to smash the like button. I think you can comment too, and I might be able to see your comments. We've got a pretty good show today. Pretty good. We got an amazing show. It's probably the best Seattle real estate podcast you will ever see. I promise you, it's going to be great content. And we are talking about first-time home buyers in 2024. It's crazy. It may seem unobtainable to people out there. And I got to tell you, it's not. We've been helping people out. And what I'm going to do first, though, is welcome in our good friend, Tucker Maxwell. Tucker, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Dan. How's it going?
Good. How was your last couple of weeks? We haven't talked in a couple of weeks. Anything fun? Have you been skiing, taking part of this weather?
I have not yet, but I'm itching to go. I'm so happy that the mountains are getting some snow.
Yeah, because they were pretty bad. I know a lot of people over New Year's were like at Whistler and Whitefish, Montana, and they're sending pictures of like nothing.
Right.
It did not look fun. You spend all that time and money to go up there. And so, yeah, we're getting dumped on. This should be really good. All right. Well, let's jump into just to give us a general overview. What are you seeing in the markets today? Interest rates, mortgage applications, that kind of thing. Just give us that.
Mortgage applications are up. So the buyer demand definitely has picked up. I think the 8 weeks that ended 2023 let people know that rates are going to come down, and we saw proof of that. They've sort of started to kind of go sideways or up a little bit, to be completely frank, this week, just with the markets not reacting real well to inflation data. CPI and PPI looked really good, and then the December spending report just wasn't in line with what people had thought. And so it started to tick up again, which I think is a good thing in our market for buyers. It's going to keep seller credits and, a more reasonable increase in prices in our market on top of our very low inventory. So things are going good. It's definitely much busier January 2024 than it was in January of 2023.
Okay. And so when you are seeing the process right now, as far as getting people pre-approved, how long is that taking from a standpoint of like being able to make an offer? Like if they were to talk to you today, how long would it take?
It really depends on them. Once we have a full application and their supporting documents, we can do it in real time, usually within 24 hours. The great thing about the Seattle area is we have a lot of large employers, Boeing, Starbucks, Microsoft, Salesforce, right? These big, well-known brands, they don't want to answer verifications of employment requests from us, so they automate all of that. So when an applicant comes to us today, we can almost in real time verify employment, verify assets through technology, and issue the pre-approval almost same day.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And have certainty of it.
And have some certainty. Like and again, we've talked about this on the podcast before, the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. A lot of times a pre-qualification is answering some questions. Pre-approval is verifying those numbers with documents.
Exactly.
That's the simplification of it. So providing essentially a lot of people, especially right now, like they don't have their taxes done. So how do you handle that? Because they always want 2 years of tax returns.
Yeah, so it depends on the situation. If they're self-employed, what we'll do is we'll take a look at 2022 or the 2021 and 2022 to try to get a feel for what's coming in February. We're guessing February 15th will be the tax date that they start accepting filings. But what we do is we say, hey, send us the proposed filing and let's take a look at it and let's tell you what you qualify for once you do file that. And it gives them an opportunity to make some adjustments to it if they either A, qualify no problem for their property and want to add in some deductions, or vice versa, they're writing off too many deductions and they don't qualify. We have an opportunity to catch that before they file, before the IRS looks at it, and then it requires an amendment, which as lenders, we don't love those amendments. So that's kind of the big thing. But for W-2 employees, we're going off of their pay stubs. So we'll grab their final pay stub from 2023 to anticipate what's going to be on their W-2. And usually that tax filing, unless they have side business or rental properties or something like that, where we're trying to gather income information from, the tax filing might not be important.
Okay. So W-2s employees is a little bit more a little easier. I hate saying that, but it's a little easier than a 1099 because 1099, you're running a business. You've got deductions. They want to see that business history. So they also want to kind of see that it's still continuing. Whereas W-2, it's kind of a given with the verification of employment. They're still kind of good.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So, so that brings me to today's topic, and I don't know. You know what? Just because it's cool, let's do our real talk bumper here. Hold on one second. God, that is so loud in here. I don't know if it's loud on the internet or whatever, but it's like so loud. The reason why I wanted to do that is we probably should get a bumper for the mortgage moment. That'd be kind of cool, like a little money. Like everybody probably does the money song by Pink Floyd, but maybe you can pick your own theme song. We'll create a bumper for your mortgage moment. All right, let's talk about first-time home buyers. I had this great question today, a newer agent just kind of asking about that whole first-time home buyer experience. And so I've been selling real estate for a while. I've been a home owner for over 25 years. And so I'm kind of going to go on the Wayback Machine, and people are going to say, oh, that's the old people. It's not like that now. And that's fine. But I'm going to tell the story about the one that got away, and then I'm going to tell my story. Because I think that the reason why this story is powerful is because it shows the history of home ownership. Not just, hey, buy a home because I'm a real estate agent. I want to show you a home. So the first thing I want to talk about is I lived on 85th and Roosevelt in Seattle with a couple other friends at the time. We spent, I want to say 3 or 4 years there, 4 of us in a house. We paid $237.50 a month rent there. Okay, so that's like, you can't even buy a loaf of bread for that anymore. And it was a great living environment, not a great house. It would flood in the wintertime, with the rains. And so we had like scaffolding, catwalks downstairs, but we had some great fun too. We had some great parties in that house. And as we're getting to the spot, I met my wife, we were engaged. There was a conversation of maybe buying that house. And then the landlord actually lived next door. And we had talked and I kind of got a price from him and he said $220,000. And that was kind of towards the top of my budget. And I was like, oh man. And, we decided that's not the right place to start our marriage, is with 3 other guys in a house that had been basically like a fraternity house. So the wife decided the better thing to do was to look for a house elsewhere. So we started our search in Shoreline because that's where our budget was taking us. And we didn't look at any great houses in Shoreline. So we knew we had to change the location. So we kept going north and we found newer construction in Linwood at the time. And I think we ended up paying $235 for a 4-bedroom multi-level home there. We spent just under 2 years and sold it for $250. So we didn't actually make a whole lot of money when we sold that home. But we found an opportunity with some friends and neighbors in Sammamish. And before I go on to the move up home and all that stuff, I just want to kind of go back to what it felt like buying a home for the first time when I was paying $237.50 a month rent to go to, I want to say $1,700 a month is what it panned out to be, because we got a super low rate of 7%.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
it's like today, right? So yeah, we were paying $1,700, and the thing about that is I had kind of thought about home ownership for a while before we made that purchase. And what I started to do is started to just take $1,700 and put it in the savings account. And I just put it in the savings account, put it in the savings account, put it in the savings account. I didn't put it into investing in Microsoft, although that would have been pretty brilliant back then, or, Tesla. I don't even think they were public yet, but, just to date myself. But I just put it in the bank and I made that mortgage payment like I was making that mortgage payment. And it got me used to feeling what it would feel like for when it was time to actually make that purchase. Now I had only saved up about $6,000. That was all I had saved up at the time. And it worked out. We did 3.5% down or something like that. And we got a down payment assistance at the time. And then I'm going to fast forward to selling it, making a profit, and rolling that profit into the house that I raised my family in Sammamish. So we're going to talk about at a later time the whole move up process and how that worked for us and how we can help people work through there. But what I also want to do is I want to hear your story, Tucker. So from a standpoint of when you decided it was time, what was your motivating factor for deciding to buy?
Yeah, it was kind of similar to yours. My wife and I, or girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, we had been renting for several years, and we had decided that apartment living wasn't for us anymore, and we were tired of shared walls. And so we were going to move up, and by move up, I meant we were going to rent a single family home. That was our move. And fortunately for me, my wife was in mortgages, and so we're seeing the return on investment. People are telling us, don't wait, don't wait, don't wait. Prices are going to go up. And so for us, we, like you, started to save, and we said, how much money can we put away each month? Can we take on what it means to be a homeowner? And this is 2015, roughly time period. And so we're paying $2,400 a month for a single family home to rent. And being that she was in mortgage, we ran the numbers and we said we could roughly afford, we set a budget of 350 for roughly the same amount we were renting. And we just said, if it's the same amount and we have 3 or 4 years of on-time payments and we feel comfortable, we're contributing to 401k, we're doing all the things, why not put that in our pocket versus our landlord? So it was when the lease expired and the landlord showed up and he's wanted to increase the rents by $200 a month, that was the triggering point. And we said, really, for the same home? No, because we can get it. So at that point, it was either sign a new lease or buy a home.
And okay, so then when it came down to that decision, how did you go about researching where you wanted to live?
So we were looking at where we worked, and we were, again, no family, pretty flexible on where we wanted to be at the time. Becca was working in Tacoma, and I was working in Redmond, which, as your viewers know, that's not convenient. Right?
Not
50 minutes from one another. So I took a look at the map and said, I think Renton is in the middle. Let's start there. And that would be the best commute for both of us versus buying in Redmond and then her commuting all the way to Tacoma, or us buying in Tacoma and commuting all the way to Redmond. And so that's how we did it. We just drew on a map. Here's one person's work. Here's the other person's work. Where can we find it in the middle? So, of course, we looked at Kirkland, Bellevue, right? We wanted to be in the cool areas. We wanted to be on the lake. And just like you, our budget started to push us in directions. We were looking at 1-bedroom condos without garages in Kirkland at the time. We talked about skiing, mountain biking on your podcast before. I have a lot of toys, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. We have 2 cars. We have toys. We got to have somewhere to store the stuff, especially if we're getting a 700 square foot condo. It's not going to have enough room. So we let our budget say, okay, we want a single family home that is approximately this size with 2-car garage. And then we worked with our agent to say, okay, where can we find what we're looking for at our price?
And there you go. And that's where it came out. So I want to show some numbers here. I've got a calculator that I brought up for rent versus buy, because every time I do this exercise, I pretty much I kind of get excited. I do, because I know that we can help people. So you said you were spending how much in rent?
$2,400.
$2,400 on rent a month. Okay. And that was getting you what for $2,400 a month?
It was a split level kind of row townhome.
Where was it at?
It was off of Sunset in Renton.
Okay, so you're in Renton. Okay, for renter's insurance, you're going to probably pay about $400 a year.
Yep.
Now, what was the purchase price of the house that you ended up buying?
$380.
Okay, $380. Now, obviously, at those rates, what was your let me see, does it ask for an interest rate? I don't think it does.
It was 5.875 was the rate we got.
How much?
5.875%.
5.875. I don't think this calculator does an interest rate, because it should. Let me think. Purchase price, down payment. So how much was your down payment?
So we were utilizing a first-time home buyer program with 3% down.
Okay.
Because we were initially looking at 350, and the reason for that is we were trying to target a payment under $2,000 a month. That's what we really wanted. That was the goal. And because this home was 380, I ended up tapping into 401k to increase my down payment a little bit to get my payment down.
Okay, so
It
you
was
put
like
more money down.
4.5% or something was what it actually came down
You
to.
guys still live in this house, by the way?
We do. Yep.
Okay. So, and how many years have you been in the house?
Since 2016, so 8 years.
8 years. Okay, so let's evaluate this for 8 years. And then I'm going to say annual appreciation based on, let me see, this is evaluation period, savings rate, annual maintenance. About how much a year are you putting into maintenance on the house?
Probably 2,000 to 5,000 on average. We've had some bigger years and we've had some lower years, right? We've replaced cedar siding, which was a pretty big bill one year. Painted one year, but outside of that, not too bad on the other year.
And you said you were 5.875, and then how many origination points did you pay?
At that time, I think it was par. I don't think we bought down the rate.
You didn't buy down the rate, but you said you used some of that
to increase the down payment.
Oh, I see. So I put down $10,000 down payment.
Yeah.
Okay. And what would I know what it is in my head. Appreciation rate since 2016 to now. I mean, annually, it's going to be +7, probably
Yes.
+7. That's conservative. I'm just going to put 5. Okay.
Yep.
Because I don't like to, just over sensationalize it. Okay. Let's see if I can now.
And our neighbors just sold, so I can tell you what that traded for after you do this calculation, because I bet it's more than what that calculation is.
We got that. So here is our net cost. And I'm going to go to, I think I've got everything here, but let's just take a look at this. So let's see, I'm going to make this bigger if I can. Where? Oh, Zoom. Okay, there we go. So essentially the total cost of renting for 8 years, $251,000 at that $2,700 a month, right?
Yep.
Which is what you're paying. The cost of ownership for 8 years, there's the $10,000 down payment. I could have put about $6,000 in closing cost ish. I don't know.
Yep.
Mortgage payments, loan payoff at the sale. So when you sell this property, and I put an 8 year, like you were to sell it now, it says that it's valued at $561. I guarantee it's more than that right now. I guarantee.
Yeah.
But this was that straight line appreciation at 5%.
Yep.
So you got to pay your cost of sale. Net cost of buying was 45. So buying will save you approximately $205,000 in just 8 years. And that is an underestimation. So, most people live in their house from 7 to 10 years. I think the 10-year mark is kind of where we're stuck at. So, this was off the cuff. I didn't prepare, Tucker with any of these numbers. And I think the importance is to understand that the process of getting started is probably the most stressful. And everybody that knows, that has owned a home, knows that by taking that leap, taking that step, even with down payment assistance, right? I can tell a story about a gentleman who I helped him buy his first house for $300,000 here in Everett. He sold that house 2 years later, bought a home in Richland, sold that house 3 years after that, and bought a house I think he's down in Puyallup now. And every step, in my own story, every step there was a gain opportunity, and it was for different reasons. So the moral of this story is, if you are looking at this market and you see what's everybody's saying, high interest rates, high prices, it may be true. And that's if you're looking at a turnkey home. But if there's an opportunity for you to have a 2-bedroom condo or a 3-by-1 home that isn't perfect, think of it not necessarily as, this house isn't my perfect house. Now you own it. You can paint it. You can do that. You can upgrade it, add sweat equity. And in 2 years, you can make that step forward. And I think sometimes we are also set on having exactly what we want right away, that we miss the opportunity that was gained. That I spent 2 years in a house in Linwood and stepped into the house of our next 20 years. And just like my other friend, who, moved to Everett and then moved to Richland and then all that. Every step of the way, he didn't lose money. He just gained equity every step of the way. Anything else to add? I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. One is Washington State down payment assistance is phenomenal. They give you your full down payment and part of your closing costs, so almost cover the full bill for you to buy a home. Those funds come from the commission at 0% interest. So going back to your numbers, how about that? We're not only going to cover your down payment, but we're going to do so with no interest. So I just had a transaction that closed in December. This family was saving up to be able to, afford closing costs. We were going to use the down payment assistance. Unfortunately for them, they were in a car accident. Their car was totaled. They got a $6,000 check, which turned out to be a very blessing because we were struggling to save money. We weren't getting there. We weren't really going. We were able to take that $6,000, use it as earnest money. The agent did a great job, got seller credits. We got a little bit more back at inspection. They got all but $187 of that $6,000 of earnest money refunded to them at closing because everything else was paid either through down payment assistance or through the seller credits. So this is in Covington, almost a $500,000 home. Their out of pocket to get into the home was about $200 in an inspection fee.
Wow. And an inspection.
So it's possible in this market right here in the greater Seattle area at today's rate. So that's what I'll tell you is those opportunities are there. As the market heats up, as rates come down, seller credits, these things might not be available. So now is a good opportunity for first-time home buyers to get in before it heats back up. And then the last thing I'll mention is I get asked every single day about timing the market. And what I always remind people is it has nothing to do with timing the market. It has to do with time in the market. So don't worry about when you're going to buy. Just buy when it's the right opportunity for you and you feel it's the right thing to do for your family and your situation. And to your point, it almost always will appreciate and prove to be a good investment as long as you hold on to it for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, that's great. Tucker, thank you so much for the great conversation. Next week, we're going to talk about the move ups and how we can do that. So send us your questions, like, subscribe. Thanks for joining us on Seattle Real Estate Podcast. I think I'm going to do an outro here. Let me see if I can find the intro and I'll just call it an outro. No, I think I have an outro. I do. But there's no music. Oh, can I find music? Can I? Oh, here we go. Here's some music.
Do you beatbox?
I don't know. It's really weird. No, that's dumb. How about this one?
That gets me pumped up to buy.
Yeah. There we go. There's your outro.